So your father's base was on Good Enough Island?
Yes.
Do you know why he was in the boat with the other soldiers?
I don't. They just knew that he was out there with other soldiers, that it was becalmed, that they couldn't communicate, they couldn't move the boat, and it was drifting farther and farther away from the island. And so, he said, we have to get help. He apparently knew how to swim. He made it a good deal of the way. And the two men that volunteered to go with him, and again, I don't know who they were, then realized, of course, he wasn't with them, and went back, found his body, brought it to shore, and tried to resuscitate him. And they, my mother, actually, at the time he died, had a vision, and she literally saw him. She was in church at a Lenten type service, and she said she felt like she was going to faint all of a sudden. So she put her head down and closed her eyes, and she said she could see very clearly a beach, a tropical beach, and she could see my father lying on the sand with other people, men around him, trying to resuscitate him. Mm-hmm. And it was obvious in her vision that they couldn't. That and so she knew what had happened. And so he was gone almost exactly 2 years. I was about 18 months old because I wasn't born until a few months after he left. So hence the pictures of me, as a baby with my arm around his picture. Right. First memory that I have connected with his death is when I was 5 years old. It would be in 1947. After the war, they flew his body back to Effingham. So that's when they were able to have an actual funeral. And I remember that very vividly.
So everything you know about your father is what you were told by various people over the years then? How would you describe him based on their accounts?
From everybody that I heard things about my father, he was just a very compassionate and caring person, a very loving person, a very godly man. I so wish I could have known him. I can hardly wait to get to heaven and find out what he's like.
What made you decide to visit where he died? Why was that important?
All I can say, it was like a calling straight from God. I just felt called to go there. That's the last place his soul was on this earth. And that his soul left there for heaven. And that's where it is. And I think I needed that assurance. I think I needed to know, like personally, to see this is where his soul left this earth and ascended into heaven.
Do you remember how it felt standing on that beach?
I guess I felt close to him. And yet, it was a kind of closure. Like, okay, so this was the end of the earthly part of him. But it was only the beginning of his eternal life in heaven. And it was kind of a beginning for me, too. That I could go on from there and, I guess, stop the grieving and start the rejoicing.
So this Easter, do you think your thoughts are going to go back to that island?
Oh, my word, yes, of course. Yeah. Of course. And the island, but also to heaven. I can so more clearly picture my father there.